Hello and welcome to Femme Party Overview. It's a wrap up and an overview of the book Femme Party, which I just read all 14 chapters in 14 episodes on the Black Hole Podcast. So I want to welcome you to the overview. If you listen to the whole thing or you read the book, you realize that I set out a lot of goals in the book, and it's a lot of information packed with ideas and goals that I would like to accomplish, most of them, if not all of them. So I'm trying to single out a few that we could develop, and I'm going to flesh out some of the threads in the book to narrow down ideas that could be developed, or at least put the first step forward in developing them and see where it leads. My theory is try to develop a few ideas, a smattering of ideas, and some of them may stick. Some of them may take off. So I might as well try to put out as many as I can. So the first thread I want to go into in the book is a clothing company. So the character Mitch proposes securing some patents for the nip clip and the buttons on the sleeves of hooded sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts. He proposes it to two different celebrities. These patents evolve into those celebrities having individual clothing companies. And then Mitch proposes to those two celebrities that they merge their companies to develop the Tinker Tailor app. This app and platform allows people in a city to sew clothing under a collective. The platform could allow people to design their own clothing, including the disabled, especially physically disabled that need specialty clothing or could use specialty clothing and make their lives easier. Profit from the collective, from the app and platform and distribution network goes to the sewers on a piecemeal basis and maintenance of the site, as well as fielding classes to develop new sewers to make clothing on a city level. So it's basically a collective of skilled sewers making clothes for possibly high fashion and the disabled and anyone else that wants to design their own clothes on the city level. The goal is to try to get some of our clothing that's manufactured away from notorious sweatshops and things in other nations and bring them back to the local level here in city by city. So it's a platform and an app, the Tinker Tailor platform and app, to facilitate this. And I go into more detail in the book. I know not all of you have read the book or listened to the podcast, but maybe after listening to this overview, it may pique your interest. Anyway, back to the Tinker Tailor app. To begin developing this goal, I am partnering with my friends at 542 Prints to launch a clothing line called Utica Bee. So it's going to start off with just funny and interesting t-shirt designs, logos, sweatshirt design logos, and you can purchase these garments by going to my website, plotm.com. That's plot, the letter m.com. There'll be a tab for Utica Bee, and here's the description of the clothing company, kind of the advertisement. Named for the potent plant fabled to originate in Venango County, Utica Bee is a clothing line dedicated to sustainability. Our goal is to develop an internet platform that will bring clothing manufacture to the local level and facilitate clothing for those with disabilities. The company thrives on transparency, allowing anyone who buys $100 of our shirts with interesting logos to vote on any and all decisions within the company. So that's the advertisement. That's the goal, transparency in a new clothing line company. Anyone that purchases $100 worth of clothing will be put on an email list and will put any decisions up for vote. I don't anticipate any major decisions, just starting out small scale, shipping some shirts here and there, making them at 542 prints, and just keeping track of expenses for design logos and designs and stuff, and the overhead, and coming towards the end of the year to find the profit, and then we'll vote on what to do with that profit, whether it's to invest in launching the app or at least getting our own website not attached to my websites, and so on and so forth as far as developing the company. So that's the idea behind thread 1 that's in the book. We'll go into thread 2 in the book. Thread 2 is a treatise on the potential harmfulness of wireless waves. This is something that's personal to me and that I've incorporated in the book. It's a pretty major part of the book. The character Mitch suggests that if enough people embrace the idea that wireless waves could be toxic, then those people could deny permission for wireless companies to transmit waves through our bodies and our houses. So a vote could be taken to deny permission, and wireless companies would have to deliver free service to those harmed. So those with some of the harms of potential side effects of wireless waves, I believe, are possibly mental illness, cancer, tumors, dementia, anything like that. So until we get definitive studies that aren't shaded by lobbyists from the wireless companies, much like Big Tobacco did about cancer research for lung cancer, I believe that people could vote and deny permission for these wireless companies in Pittsburgh to operate, and then they would have to at least deliver free internet, free data service for mobile phones to those that are in a class of people that are harmed, such as anybody with an ailment, a disability, cancer, things like that. You can't charge people for wireless technology if they could be harmed by it, and we can't choose to take these wireless waves out of the air, so you might as well provide free service for us since you're transmitting it anyway. Mitch also suggests that if he had enough money to field an animal study, like if he was a technology billionaire, he would take cable companies to suit for harm to pets and his own physical symptoms due to radio poisoning, or what can be called radio poisoning. I believe an inundation of wireless waves could be termed radio poisoning, where you would exhibit physical symptoms. It's common knowledge that there's a higher concentration of wireless waves in a city than in the suburbs or in the country. So there are many potential suits in the book proposed, and they just represent how a mayor could single-handedly take on big companies. While the symptoms I experienced were real, as mayor I would work in a different way with wireless providers. So instead of taking them to suit, I'm proposing a different way to do things, at least in the city of Pittsburgh, to work with the wireless providers and give them an opportunity in case their industry is toxic and does cause harm to certain individuals that might be more prone to being sensitive to wireless waves. Let's give them a way out by working with them in Pittsburgh, and then they can work on the rest of the nation to help deliver what I'm proposing here, which I'll go into. So the main idea is a city, namely Pittsburgh, if people choose to do it, choose to deny permission, a city without wireless waves, and then we can take instances of cancer, tumors, dementia, anything, and compare it with other cities to see if there's a higher occurrence or if they're the same. That's the proposal of a citywide study of people voluntarily choosing to live without wireless waves so that the population could be compared to other populations that have high concentrations of wireless waves, other cities, and we can once and for all see if they are toxic, if they do cause higher instances or not. Maybe they don't, and I'm willing to accept that, but I feel that the higher occurrence of brain tumors, cancer, and things because of, or since the invention of mobile telephones, I lean towards them actually being toxic. But that's just my personal opinion. Anybody's entitled to their opinion, and hopefully it's not, I do hope that it's not harmful, but we'll see. So in my newer evolved proposal here, like we followed the thread through the book, that's the main thread. What I'm proposing we do in moving forward is that we would still take a vote under direct democracy in the city of Pittsburgh to see how many people grant permission to broadcast waves through their homes and bodies. Those that don't grant permission shouldn't have to pay for wireless service. They should get it for free. Those that do grant permission can continue to pay wireless providers. So maybe only 30% of people in this city don't want wireless waves transmitted. They don't grant permission. The other 70%, you granted permission, you like the wireless waves, you love living in a wireless field of waves, then you can continue to pay the exorbitant prices for data and wireless service through the same system we've had for years and years and years, 20 years. Those that don't grant permission shouldn't have to pay. They should get free service from the wireless carriers. So those that deny permission, they could deny permission to wireless companies, but grant permission for wireless waves to the universities. This is because the universities can cross-reference the medical records to confirm that a city with no wireless has less cancer or dementia or any other ailments. So the universities are better prepared. They have hospital systems. They can cross-reference these medical records without breaching privacy, HIPAA violations, things of that. So they're equipped to do this, and they're also equipped to deliver wireless service, data service, free wireless internet to the city. So we deny permission for these private corporations, these private wireless corporations, but grant permission to the universities to deliver wireless on the city level. So we work with these universities to deliver wireless internet to the entire city. This internet, what I'm proposing if I were mayor and was able to facilitate this system, is that this internet would be free to Native and African Americans and very cheap to the rest of the city, this wireless, citywide wireless service. So people would log in to the wireless service. Households with 3 or 4 people or 5 people could each have a device and maybe a communal device all connected to the wireless internet for a flat fee for a household or a couple. And they log in, and each year they renew a contract that specifies all profit they pay for this wireless internet in their homes and their mobile devices will be used to deliver a wired internet at low cost to each resident of the city. So the profit that the city collects, the universities would facilitate this wireless internet citywide. The city would collect revenue from a low-cost bill for the wireless internet for each household. Again, it would be free to Native and African American households, but everyone else would pay, less than what you're paying in your mobile carriers now for your devices, and less than you're paying for internet for your household. And we would use this money, it would be stipulated, and we could hold them using this yearly contract, make sure that it specifies in the contract and that it'll be used to deliver wired internet to every household at a low cost. So you renew your your contract, and you also are granted voting rights to see, you'll be updated on how the city's proceeding with delivering wired cable internet to every household on the city level. So once everyone has wired high-speed internet facilitated by the universities, so the universities would take the lead on the wired internet side too, and could develop programs for delivering citywide wired internet in case other cities choose to have this. Once everyone has wired high-speed internet, the wireless can be shut off by the universities, and we'll no longer have, hypothetically, if everyone votes for it, if we get a majority vote that we don't want wireless waves in our city, this is an avenue we can shut it all down. So the wired internet will be cheaper than any other, and the universities will develop a standard cable box and modem that will last decades, and you don't have to continue to pay for monthly like your cable provider charges you monthly fees for your equipment. So that'll be part of us delivering sensible, what makes sense, high-speed cable internet, standard equipment that lasts a long time, and we don't charge you every month for that equipment. Once you purchase it, you might have to purchase it up front, outright, or an installment plan, but once you've paid for it, it's going to hopefully last 10, 20 years, and it's paid for. You're not going to get charged monthly for it like the cable providers do. What I also touch on in the book is that we'll have collective bargaining if the whole city adopts this cable internet system. We'll have collective bargaining. We can say we want the Discovery Channel, we want this channel, we want that channel, but we don't want to have to buy a whole cable package. These cable companies charge you to deliver programs into your house that deliver advertising. You pay to be advertised to in your own home. You have to pay for that service, and they're making money off the advertising. With this, the cable companies will say, we make money from our advertisers, we still want to have your market. So what channels do you want delivered through your cable system to each household? And the important part to remember about this system is that people can still choose to keep their cable providers. They can still choose to keep the two main cable providers in the city. They can still choose to keep their wireless providers, and until a majority decide not to grant them permission, everyone can keep their providers. And hypothetically, even if the city develops high-speed cable internet for every resident, they can still choose the private companies as their provider. We're not going to not allow them to operate in the city. They just may not be able to deliver wireless mobile services to this on the city level, hypothetically. And that's, again, if people vote in direct democracy to eliminate that, so that we can finally have a definitive study into that. And that's what I'm kind of getting at with these mobile carriers, is that we could partner with them to help deliver one city. So instead of filing suit, this could be an opportunity for wireless providers to be proactive about their product. In the book, Mitch also suggests the city develop a state-of-the-art electrical grid that uses battery power from each individual home. So I'm not going to go into this thread too much detail, but what it suggests is that every resident that can afford it purchases a system of electrical battery banks that they install in their house, that's installed in their house, and they can store electricity from sustainable or non-sustainable sources on this battery grid and sell it on the citywide electrical grid to make a profit just for owning a home and having enough room to have a battery bank. It'll be a free market that goes up, fluctuates, and you can sell or buy electric on the city scale through this system. So what I'm suggesting is that mobile carriers, wireless telephone companies partner with us to develop this grid on the city level in the city of Pittsburgh and hypothetically in other cities. So the system I propose relies on smart transformers throughout the city to track electric generation. All electric generation is tagged, whether it came from an exercise machine, a human source, solar panels, a gas-powered generator in the backyard, a windmill on the top of a building. However it was generated, that's tagged, and you can, as a consumer, buy this electric to store in your battery banks in your individual houses, and later sell when the prices are high or when they're low, buy when the prices are low, so on and so forth. So these smart transformers, what I'm suggesting is that wireless companies sponsor this study in one city to see if their product is toxic. They voluntarily hand over control of the wireless technology to the universities, granting free internet to all residents, just in the city of Pittsburgh. So these wireless companies can partner with the universities to build the smart grid in Pittsburgh. They develop network-enabled smart transformers that connect both wirelessly or through a data cable. So they partner with these universities. We develop these smart transformers that are on every block or whatever to help track electricity generation and to facilitate the buying and selling of electricity on a city scale. And these are connected on a network, not necessarily an internet, but a network throughout the city. And they could connect wirelessly or through a data cable. So these smart transformers could be equipped with the newest technology for wireless companies too. Like probably there's going to be a 6G and a 7G and an 8G. There's 5G that they're coming out with now. So the 6G technology could be incorporated in other cities. So you could build these smart grids in other cities as part of the wireless company's infrastructure. So the smart transformer could have a transmitter for wireless if cities choose to keep wireless. If the study turns out that it's toxic, maybe some cities still do choose to keep wireless. They think it's important for their city, for business, for the economy, like all these politicians say it's important for the economy. Whatever their reason, there's been plenty of cases throughout history where things were toxic and we kept using them in society for decades and decades and decades. But at least we're building smart grids now where people can buy and sell electricity from sustainable sources. We're creating infrastructure that makes sense. So that's my main idea is we lock in a design for these smart transformers so that other cities can choose between wired or wireless smart transformers. Obviously, the quickest way to build a smart grid is going to be wireless. You throw these transformers up, connect them into the electrical grid, and they keep dibs on each other wirelessly, and hypothetically they transmit wireless waves for people's telephones and smart devices and things like that. But we lock in the design so that it can be wired through cable or a wired data cable so that cities can choose to shut off those wireless transmitters and just still have the smart transformers connected through wires to every individual home to buy and sell electricity and things of that nature. So, like I said, the wireless companies are being proactive by sponsoring a definitive study for their product. They also allow themselves a transition to building smart grids if their product is found to be toxic. This is a good business model for them to be highly invested in smart grids and turn a new leaf if that needs to happen. So in Pittsburgh, we can deny permission to deliver low-cost internet through the universities with or without the help of wireless companies. That is the power of direct democracy. We can finally say, this is the best form of government. This is truly power to the people. And the people have spoken, and they said, we deny permission to these wireless carriers, but we grant it to the universities because we know they're going to develop a cable internet system, a wired internet system for everyone within the next 5 or 10 years so that we can all have low-cost internet facilitated through the city level. And that's the new way I'm leading instead of filing a suit against these wireless cable or wireless providers and cable companies. let's work together to make an interesting city and get a definitive study nailed down where we can compare the occurrences of cancer and other ailments to cities that have wireless waves. All right, so this brings me to my final thread that I'm going to go through in this episode of the podcast, and that's running for mayor on direct democracy. So I believe that everyone can vote in direct democracy at the city level. We'll have deliberation on the city cable channel, and there will be a website where you can log in, verify your address, verify that you're a city resident, and vote on all policy, ordinances, and budget by logging in by a certain date and time and voting. So that's my platform. But I believe in transparency and will run my campaign in that way. Anyone that donates to my campaign, any amount of money, will be able to vote on how that money is used. Now, my vote is promoting the book and the podcast so people know what they're getting into by voting for me for mayor. But we'll vote on. I'll put you on an email list if you donate, and we'll vote on how this money should be used as campaign money. So it's true transparency at the campaign level. You get to decide how we spend this money, whether it's a billboard or some other promoting some of my funny videos, things of that nature. However you think the best way to run this campaign will be. The campaign's coming up in November. It's May 2nd right now. And I'm running as a write-in candidate. I did not get the requisite signatures to be on the ballot. I'm running as a write-in, so hopefully you'll write me in if you live in Pittsburgh. So on transparency, as mayor, I will be transparent. It's common for mayors to have advisors. They run decisions passed. In my administration, citizens will be the advisors by voting. So I will continue my podcast and make it every evening, and you can hear about my day as mayor. When I encounter a lobbyist, you'll hear exactly how that goes down. So if I encounter lobbyists, they're not all bad. Some of them are for the environment, things of that nature. When I encounter one, you'll get to hear how that went during the day, and I will put my decisions up for vote. Most decisions don't need to be immediate unless it's an emergency. They can wait a day, so you'll get to listen to the podcast. I'll put it up in the evening. Maybe you listen in the morning when you're getting ready for work, and you'll be able to vote. Hopefully I can develop a website where you'll be able to vote, verify address, and vote, and that's what I'm getting into next. But as far as transparency, I just want to end on this. So you'll be able to listen to what my day was like briefly, 20-minute, half-hour podcast. And also, I will publish my schedule. Now, for security purposes, I won't publish my upcoming schedule, but the previous day's schedule will be posted somewhere for you to see it. So you'll get to see every person that I met with on the previous day. You'll see who I met with and a description of who they are. What are they? Are they a big donor? Are they a lobbyist? Are they just a city leader? And, I think that every politician should be this transparent. You should post your previous day schedule so that we can see what lobbyists you were meeting with, who you met with, and we can ask questions so that you have to cover it in your podcast at the end of the day. So every politician should do a end of the day wrap-up podcast so that their constituents know what's going on, know what decisions need to be made, and they should post their previous day's schedule so that there's true transparency. So this system would take lobbyist money out of politics, big money out of politics, and we will see which donors get a seat at the table with each politician. So basically, like I said, I want to develop a site where politicians can allow constituents to vote on decisions, post their schedule, and host a daily podcast. This isn't my social media idea that I've been saving, that I have a description of. This is something new that I'd like to develop for my campaign, and in case I do get elected mayor, so that I can deliver this. So we begin with my mayoral run so that I can challenge other politicians. Why don't you do this? Why aren't you transparent? So that's the main push there is that I'm looking for someone in the technology field, a computer science person, to help me develop this site. So if you could help me develop this site, I think it could be a nationwide thing for politicians. We could push this for all politicians to be transparent. Citizens would verify residency before they get an account to listen to the podcast, see the schedule and all that. I believe this could be developed in a nationwide site where admins verify residency, so on and so forth. So I'm looking for help developing it. Again, this isn't my social media idea, but if someone, shouldn't be as complicated as a social media platform. So if someone out there is a computer science person, I'd appreciate it if you could reach out to me through my websites, plotm.com or mitch4mayor.com. That's Mitch, the number 4mayor.com. Fill out the email form and let me know if you want to help me develop this site. I think it could be big. So those are the three goals of the season three of the podcast. This is the end of season 2. This might be the last podcast of season 2. Probably is. That's why I'm going a little over half an hour here. But it's to rehash it. I want to have a social media startup, so I want to go into detail how I have a social media startup. That'll be part of the season 3 podcast. The transparent mayoral campaign, so I'll update people on how the mayoral campaign is going, what could be voted on as far as transparency in my campaign, and launching the clothing line, the Utica Bee clothing line. Again, not too much of an update probably on that until the end of the year when we see what the profit is on it and go to pay taxes on that. So those are the three kind of goals for the season 3 podcast. I hope you tune in for that. Other things I have on the table. I have another book halfway written. It's about a 68-day stay I had in a mental hospital in northwestern Pennsylvania. Over that 68 days, I did not speak. I took handwritten notes of every interaction I had with doctors and nurses, and I have those notes and I'm compiling them into a book. It's about halfway written, so if you'd like to see that, again, email me and let me know if you'd like to see that book published. I could publish it within the next year. I have an idea for another book that, again, like this Femme Party novel, is loaded with political and technological ideas. Before I go into that, I want to talk about my first book, which is entitled M. I took it off of Amazon Kindle, but it was published there for a long time, since 2014. And it's written in the style I call schizojournalism. It's a nod to gonzo journalism. It's kind of an out there, spacey kind of novel. And I could republish that if enough people were interested in reading my first work. A lot of my political viewpoints have changed since then and can be seen in the Femme Party novel. And so I took that one down just because it was so out there and nobody really read it. So if you'd like to see that published, I can republish that on Amazon Kindle. But this new book would be kind of in the style, it would be a combination of Femme Party and the schizojournalism style that I developed. So it's a little bit more out there, but it's still loaded with interesting ideas. And if you'd like to hear a new book, it kind of coalesces around governors and and a new president. Not the one proposed in Femme Party, but a president, and it should be interesting. So I don't know when I'll have time to write that until in the winter months, possibly. But if you'd like to hear a new book, I would read that one, the new one, on my podcast again as a season 4 or 5 or whatever. And again, with these 3 ideas I have for season 3 of the podcast, if we eventually have to split those off into their own podcast, we could do that. As far as the clothing line, to be transparent, the mayoral podcast and the social media startup could all each be their own podcast where I update people and run transparent companies and mayoral campaign. That way you're updated and you can vote on things like that. So thanks for listening. That's pretty much the end of this overview. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the podcast. And I'll close with my sponsors. Looking for family camping in Utica, Pennsylvania? Look no further than French Creek Farms, with sites along the French Creek or the Trapper Cabin or the cottage. Book with French Creek Farm today. While you're in Utica, why not stop by Krabby Kelly's for a cocktail or a beer? Stop by Krabby Kelly's for all your STDs. That's snacks, tobacco, and drinks in Utica, Pennsylvania, right next to the Utica Bridge. Are you planning a trip to Incheon, South Korea? No trip is complete without a stop by Liquor Burger. Stop in for a drink and some food. Tell them Mitch sent you. Do you need a logo screen printed or embroidered on a garment of clothing? Look no further than 542 Prints. Go to 542prints.com today and contact them about your next screen printing or embroidery design. And as always, if you'd like to see hiking video or home improvement video, look up Disability TV on YouTube. It's a fledgling media company by disabled people for disabled people. Go to Disability TV today and subscribe, please. Okay, thanks for listening to the podcast. Sorry I went a little bit long. This is probably it. I didn't receive any questions or comments on the book yet. If I do, I might do another little podcast to end season 2. But tune in for season 3, coming soon, probably within the next couple months. I'll update you on all these ideas. And thanks for listening, and take care.